For the last portion of the business rules section that I want to talk to you about is down on the very bottom. We're going to skip through all these other email, mail, alumni options. These are sort of self-explanatory and they're not even worth your time. I'm going to go down to where it says user-defined rules. Now this is an area that has some merit and some function. And let me explain what this is. You can actually create rules that will give you annotations, for example. Like for instance, if any of you have a record, I'm going to just go to my sample database. I'll go back to my doctor person from Delaware. Now in the event that every time I open this person's record, I wanted someone to know something, I have the ability of putting what's called an annotation. See that little icon on the top there? I can click it, and I mean a good example might be, and this is an actual occurrence in my past. I knew a person that could barely hear, so they would always shout. So I would put this person is hard of hearing, so don't hesitate to shout over the phone. All right, now I'm just using this as an example of something that you might want to let people know in the event they bring up this person's record. So watch what happens. I'm going to save and close this person's record. Now in the event I reopen it, I get an annotation. It lets me know something. Now a business rule is often the same way. You can create a rule. Like for instance, if you try to open a board member, typically your database will warn you this person is a board member. Well, you can actually modify and create these notifications that you get. So let's say I have a rule. I want everybody who is a member of my finance committee, if I ever open the record, I want to be warned this person is a member of the finance committee. For whatever reason, I want to make sure I give these people preferential treatment. All right, so the way you would identify this group is by creating a query that identifies this group. So I'm going to go to my query module. I'm going to create a new query. And now we keep track of things like committees on an attribute. So what I'm going to do is come down here. I'm going to go to my attribute section. I'm going to build this query very quickly. I'm going to say specific attribute, come down to where it says committees, and you'll see I'm grabbing description, and description equals, and I'll say finance. So this is my finance committee. So I'm going to say all finance committee members. All right, pretty simple. Now once I've saved it and there's a query with that name, I can go back to my business rules and config, and when I go down to the section where there is user-defined roles, I can create a new one. So notice this option here, new opening constituent rule. So I'll click that. And what I'm going to call it is Finance Committee Warning. Something like that. Now the query name is the query of what I just built. So I'm going to basically do a search for the query. An easy way to find a query that you just built is just search for the queries that you built on that day. And so there it is, all finance committee members. And then what is the message you want? And so in this case, I'm going to say this member, or I'll say this constituent is a member of our finance committee. All right, pretty simple, right? Now, when I say okay, I need to go actually find one of these so I know who to open. So I'm going to go back to my committee members and let me find a record. From my output, I'll go find a name. Now I just reran the query so I can get to the name quicker. If you didn't know this, you can actually open a constituent record from a query. If you didn't know that, you're probably going to go, oh my God, I didn't know that. Okay, so here's my finance committee members. Now any of these records that I open, when I click it, watch what happens now because of this new rule. This constituent is a member of our finance committee. You see that? This is a prompt that I just created by creating a business rule. Now you can do these rules for gifts, constituents, and anything that you, for whatever reason, want this person to be popped up. One real good use of the business rules that I found over the years of doing this as a consulting job is in the event that you maintain a donor wall. Now, for instance, let's say you have a person that is on your donor wall, and over time, as they make more and more donations, they might actually go up a level. You might have names like gold, silver, platinum, whatever, and they might have thresholds. Now, in the event that a person crosses a threshold, You don't necessarily know it unless you're doing a report on a regular basis, but you have the ability of creating a query that says if this person's accumulative giving is this amount or higher, and their attribute or their level is not gold or whatever, to warn you. It could let you know this person has moved up in a donor category. Again, just try to be as creative as you can with how you would use these, but this is a nifty little tool, a cool trick that you can use for pretty much anything. All right, so with that said, any questions before we move on from the business rules?